Hi, it's Wednesday. That means it's time for another video edition of Widower Wednesday. I'm Abel Keogh, author of Dating a Widower, and today we're going to talk about widower triggers. In short, we want to know, I get questions about, oh no, what if my widower gets triggered and he remembers something about the late wife and, I don't know, whatever, he starts crying or something like that. We're going to discuss that today. Um, and talk about maybe the best way a widower can handle it and the best way you can handle it if there's triggering events. So let's start. I guess I'm going to start by laying out the reality of triggers and expectations is that we're all triggered at certain times by certain things. And by the way, I know that triggers are sometimes used derogatorily, and I know that there's like trigger warnings. People, they'll say, well, if you read this book and you've experienced a traumatic event, it might be hard for you. I like to think that people are a little more resilient than that, especially if the traumatic event, the loss has been happened some time ago. But really, I mean, let's just be honest. We're all triggered by different things. You could hear a song and suddenly it's like, oh yeah, that takes you back to whatever, to high school. It takes you back to, I don't know, a past girlfriend or boyfriend, or maybe a special time with your family. Smells, song, movies. There's lots of things that trigger us, and widowers are no different, right? They're going to have triggers that remind them of the late wife. So sometimes I'll get an email, or someone will send me a concern to say, hey, I have this great guy that I'm dating. He's a widower, and we're going to go on vacation, but it happens to be to the same place that he and the late wife went on vacation to 10 years ago or recently, and I'm worried that going there is going to bring back a lot of memories and I don't know. I'm worried it's going to ruin my vacation. It's going to ruin my life. Fill in the blank. That something's going to happen, and we're all going to be triggered and sad, and it's going to ruin it. So first of all, just understand again, anything, even if you don't go to the same vacation or the same restaurant or whatever it is that you're going to do, the widower can still be triggered, okay? And he can be triggered all the time, and probably I'm willing to bet he's triggered way more than you know about, and 99% of the time you don't know that he's triggered because it goes in and out, and he takes 2 seconds to think about it, and he goes on with life. I get triggered, want to go back to memories, the late wife or the old life I used to have. Yeah, I get triggered. I'd say several times a week. There could be again a smell, a song. I don't know, maybe just a thought pops into my head and I'm sitting there like, oh yeah, I remember that, or that was a good time, or something like that. But honestly, I doubt people even know that I'm being triggered. It takes, my 2, 3 seconds. It's like this. It's like, oh, that song reminds me of something special. 1, 2, 3, and I'm off and on with my life. And that's how I think that most widowers are. Is that they're probably triggered way more often than you think, and you just don't know about it. And I will say that when I first lost my late wife, there was lots of. I mean, it was trigger season, man. I was getting triggered all the time. I'd just drive from one end of town to the other, and I'm like, oh, there's that restaurant that we used to go to, or oh, look, I remember when this happened here, and it was just kind of this trigger fest. And now I can drive through the same town, and the triggers just don't happen because. Yeah, I mean, part of the reason is the town's changed, but part of it is it's come on, guys, it's been a long time, and I don't get triggered anymore, or I'm not triggered that easily. So my first thing of advice would be is he's getting triggered. You don't know it, and that's okay. My second thing is that the longer it's been since his late wife has passed away, the less often triggers are going to happen. They're still going to happen, and there's nothing you can do about it. There's nothing he can do about it. You can plan a vacation to Antarctica, and I guarantee that there could be something there. I don't know, the snow, the penguins, I don't know, something, and it would trigger a memory, okay? And triggers aren't bad. They're not, it's not a bad thing. Really, it's how we deal with the triggers that is that important. And if the widower could take you on a vacation to wherever, I don't know, Disney World, to Mexico, to, I don't know, just camping up in the mountains or something like that, if he can take you there, and honestly, you can't tell that he's being triggered, that's a win. You have a chance to go out there and make new memories. Yay, go out there and memories. So when he drives by that campsite, or I don't know, again, whatever, when he visits that town, it's not necessarily a trigger for the late wife. It's a trigger for, hey, this is where me and so spent, where we went on vacation and it was a great time, or where we took this trip and it was a great time. But really, I think it's only an issue if the widower doesn't know how to really handle the triggers. And and I'll be honest, early on there were some triggers that were just hard. And this is, again, I'm talking maybe the first year or so after my late wife died. There were sometimes I get triggered and I would just tear up, and that was just the fact of life. But I don't think that's happened in years and years and years. So if there's any widowers that are watching this, you just got to learn to handle this in stride. If you need to take a second, that's fine. Step out of the room, do something, take care of it. But there's nothing wrong with a 2-second trip down memory lane before getting back to reality and getting back to your next life. Triggers are only a red flag, in my opinion, if there's like an emotional response every time to a trigger. If it's like, oh, there's that song and you start getting weepy, and oh, there's that smell and you start getting weepy, or there's that TV show or that movie that we saw and you start getting weepy. If you're getting triggered and it's emotional, there's bigger issues going on here that this video is not equipped to address. Seek some maybe some professional help there. But just learn how to handle it and know that it'll get less frequent over time. It'll get better, and soon but it just happens. So I wouldn't freak out over the fact that you're going to the same restaurant or you're going to a similar place that he and the late wife went to, unless he has a history of being emotional about triggers. And if that's the case, if your widower is out there and you know that something triggers him and he's tearing up and it's ruining your evening, or it's ruining his evening, or it's ruining whatever, that is probably not a good. It's not a good idea to vacation to the same spot, or take a trip to the same spot, or stay in the same hotel or something like that. But again, I'm willing to bet that the widower is triggered way more often than you like, or than you think, and you don't even know about it. Now, one thing that this does, I did a video on being insecure and how being insecure can kind of ruin your relationship. I'll actually link to it here at the end of this video. So if you want, you can forward to the end and get a link to that video. So I don't see anything wrong with necessarily throwing out a concern that, hey, do you really want to go here? And sometimes, look, let's be honest. Sometimes it's easy for us to think that, well, this is what the widower is doing because, he wants to go on this vacation because of the memories, or, whatever. And I'm going to say, no, that's not the case most of the time. Not speaking for all widowers here, but I think a lot of times widowers, they're probably just doing something, if they want to go to these same places that they and the late wife frequented, it's probably because he feels comfortable there. And not comfortable in the sense that he wishes the late wife was around, that it brings back memories, but maybe he wants to go to a certain restaurant because he knows that the food is good there, and that's why they went there. Or maybe he wants to go to a certain vacation spot because he knows what to do, right? And so I don't necessarily have a problem with him doing that, because that's probably the reason 99% of the time that he wants to do stuff like that. At the same time, I don't have a problem with you going up and saying, hey, I know this is a favorite hangout of you and the late wives is a bar you used to go to or whatever. I know that you guys spend a lot of time vacationing here. Are you sure this is something you want to do? Is there, maybe should we plan a different vacation or a different trip, or maybe try out a different bar kind of thing? Again, I don't have a problem with having that conversation, but I think you should probably do it with the best of intentions, in the sense that not the intention that that the widower is trying to take a trip down memory lane, but maybe put it in the back of your head that this is, there's probably reasons that he's doing it that aren't related to the late wife, that it's places that he's comfortable with. I know that when Julie and I, when we went on our honeymoon, we went to southern Utah, had a great time down there, spent a week down there together. But we went not every day, but there were a couple of days where we went on hikes and did things that the late wife and I had done. And the reason we were doing that necessarily wasn't because, hey, this is, I'm going down memory lane here, and this is where we kissed and stuff like that. No, no, no. Again, I just knew where these trails were, and and I knew how much Marathon Girl liked to hike, and so I said, hey, there's those trails here. We can go hike. We can go do stuff like this. Um, and I think she kind of had that same concern, like, are you sure you want to do this? But we had a great time on our honeymoon. My advice is don't be insecure, and this is, use these chances as a chance to make new memories. Because the old memories are going to fade away with time, especially as you make new ones. I go down to southern Utah now, and yeah, there's a couple of times I say, yeah, that was a great hike. Or I remember when the late wife and I went down there with some friends and we had a good time, and I got great memories from that. But I got more memories from my time down there with Julie now. We've explored places down in southern Utah that the late wife and I never had a chance to go to. And yeah, we've gone on some of the same hikes and some of the same trails, but there's just so much more memories down there. Now, when I think of southern Utah and going down there and doing hiking and climbing and all kinds of fun stuff, it's memories of Julie, and it's memories of our kids, and that's really what it is. So don't be insecure. Don't think that the widower is trying to pull something over on you. Feel free to have that conversation, but don't be insecure. Don't act insecure. If you want to turn off the guy that you're dating, that's where you act insecure and you say, oh, you're just doing this because, so and so. And oh, no, no. Assume good intentions. And you know what? Maybe I think if you do it the right way and you're really adamant that you want to go somewhere else, I think if you have that conversation in the right way, I think the widower is open to trying new things. But again, just go in there with the best of intentions, and hope that, and have a conversation about it. You've got to be able to talk about these things. You can't be hesitant in bringing up the late wife and these kind of issues. You've got to learn how to do it. So this is a great chance to go ahead and do it. But again, I'm willing to bet, widowers get triggered. You get triggered. Come on, we all get triggered. Um, if he's making it through the day and you don't know he's been triggered, then that's a good sign. It's a sign that he's able to handle it just fine. So don't worry too much about it. Just kind of see if he's going to get emotional all the time. That's the only time you've really got to be worried about it. So anyway, hope you enjoyed this video. Click the subscribe buttons here. That video I've been talking about insecurity is right here. And I'm Abel Keogh, author of Dating a Widower. I'll be back next Wednesday with a new video. Thanks.